He recently published his outrageous predictions for 2020. There were 10 of them. We chose 3 to highlight here. One of them really caught my eye, this idea that BlackRock would launch an artificial intelligence mega fund with record low fees. Please explain.
Well, I think this is going to happen, actually. I'm not sure this is going to happen this year, but this is going to happen within the next years. There is a lot of money that's trying to get into the asset class, and most of the large players, most of the mainstream asset managers want to get in the asset class, and they want a cheap way in. So I guess AI is probably the best way to get there.
Well, the whole concept that really drew me in here is what kind of fee pressure there would be on private equity, because we've seen private equity sort of as a haven, at least for asset managers, to still get paid while they invest. How long will it remain that way as you do start to see this competition?
Well, the 2 and 20 rule has been there forever, right? 40, 50 years, and this is still the case now. Funds basically charge a 2% management fee and like 20% carried interest. And this is still the case now. Is it going to go to 0.25 or low, or as low as that? I'm not too sure this is going to be quick. The question is, do you have the people to do that? It's going to be difficult to have the great talent if you pay them 0.25. But if it's a robot, a machine, then 0.25% is, I guess, enough.
Okay, but how do you have a robot actually analyzing a company and being on the ground and doing the kinds of intensive research and creative research that typically private equity firms say they do?
Yeah, I think this AI thing won't solve them up, won't change everything, right? It will create a new kind of private equity play where it's really artificial intelligence driving the search for companies and the search for good returns. But this won't take the traditional private equity crowd away from this market.
All right, let's go to one of your other outrageous predictions, that Barclays, Prudential, and Tesco would all go private.
Yeah. Private because right now there's something called Brexit going on, and
Never heard of it.
many investors in the UK are trying to, take a break from the risk. And they may actually sell to people ready to take more risks. And I think that at the same time that these guys are looking for a way out, private equity funds are looking for big deals, interesting deals. They know how to weather uncertainties, and this, maybe the traditional stockholders don't.
I'm struggling to understand who would be the buyers.
The buyers would be large private equity funds, probably together with their own LPs.
So Blackstone could buy Barclays?
Maybe.
You think that that's feasible?
Yeah.
All right. The other outrageous prediction that you have is that Charles Schwab would buy KKR. And this sort of was, to me, very interesting because it highlighted a trend. Again, going back to private equity being kind of the engine of profits, or alternative assets being the engine of profits at a time of shrinking fees on the sort of more publicly traded assets. Do you think that a major broker could buy one of the major alternative asset managers?
Again, I think this is not a question of if, it's a question of when. This will happen. Most of these big firms, most of these giants want to get into private equity. They can either make it or buy it, or go the AI route. But buy it is probably the most, the most immediate way in. Well, so this is probably what they will do.
Charles Schwab is an interesting choice of yours because they also pioneered the lowest fees among the brokerages.
Indeed.
So why would that be the best candidate to take over KKR, and why would KKR be the best subject?
Well, I think I think Schwab could be an example, but most of the other big ones could be that buyer too. Again, they want to find the good way for their retail investors to get into this asset class, and buying an existing giant in PE is probably a good choice.
How often are your outrageous predictions true?
Last year, I think 3 or 4 were actually quite good. So I hope that this time it's going to be again 3 or 4. So they're not that outrageous, actually.